Oh, looks like he's joining here. Let's go.
There he is. Oh, got
Hey,
him.
David.
David's right there. Oh, maybe I don't hear the audio. Oh,
Oh, David, you heard us? Okay.
What?
You're hearing us?
Yep.
Great, and we hear you. So terrific. Um, all right.
there we go. Are you
So,
taking notes, Tom?
what's that?
Are you taking notes tonight?
I am.
Great.
I've gotten down here. So, yes, as the committee knows, and everybody knows, Matt is on with us. Matt is now our liaison to the select board. So he's joining us this evening. Um, but as you all know, I was elected secretary, and our first order of business here is we had co-chairs, but we should re-elect all officers anyway. But we lost our real chair with John, whose term is over. So we really need to figure out what our structure is going to be here going forward and elect the chair tonight. So, I guess, by doing all that, I'll call the meeting to order as secretary, but ask if anybody has any thoughts around a chair for the committee.
I thought we had voted Jaliska previously.
We voted.
So that,
Yeah, go ahead, Jessica.
oh, I was going to say I would love to be able to share that, David, if you're up with that, if you want to share that, or if you're willing and ready to take on some of that responsibility, because it sounds like we both have some strengths and connections.
No, you've been on the committee longer. It's yours. You were voted in. You can't say no now.
Well, to be fair, she was voted as co-chair with John, so
Co-chair.
she's asking for a co-chair is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
That's what I heard too. I didn't hear a no. Sorry, David, but I heard a yes and.
So, David, what do you think?
Would you be willing to serve as co-chair with Jaliska?
Why have co-chairs? What's the advantage?
Well, I think we moved to that, and Jaliska jump in because you were in on this conversation. Last year was the first time we moved to that to lighten the load a little bit on John was carrying an awful lot of the load here for probably 3 years. And so to lighten that and make it a more doable position, but I think also for someone, to help with some continuity, so that John could teach Jaliska a little bit more of the ropes, and then, she could do the same with someone else here, and then, going forward. I think that's the thought. Jaliska, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. And then also, because technically I have about a year and a half, or just over a year and some, I think, left on the committee. So for us, like you and I, or for Sue, or for anybody else who would like to share that way it's not one person with all the responsibility and all the contacts. And I think that was what was happening with John. Because as we see, we have the Dropbox and whatnot, so it'd be a shared sort of responsibility, so everybody is aware of, transparency. So I'm hoping that, we can all share in that responsibility. What do you think about that?
Sounds like I'm being strong-armed.
Well, no. So what I'd like to do, because you, like I said, your contacts and your
What about Sue? Wait a second. Wait, let's pick on Sue.
What about Sue? Oh no, absolutely. The whole point is that one, I have also a limited time on this committee, right? And I would love to be able to help out and do stuff this year, and it's going to be a different year. So I think we're going to need to have a presence unlike we've had any time before. So I think if we can have a strong presence, I don't mind if I'm sharing this year, but we have to also be prepared for the fact that even next year, somebody else is going to have to take over this role. So I don't want to have it as has happened in the past where John had all the contacts and we're saying, oh, John, we need to get this person, this person, this person, and this person. So trying to, kind of unify the Dropbox with all of our contacts, try to get everything that we have for documenting. I really would like to kind of coordinate as much as we can this year. So that's what I'm trying to hope for maybe moving forward for this year, is to sort of figure out one plan so that we can, consolidate all of our contacts rather than, one person has the majority of that contact. So is that, what we could do obviously, is I don't mind if we can chair. I was not anticipating doing the chairing this year, to be honest. Co-chair is, something that we could lighten the load. It doesn't have to be David. It could be Sue. Maybe it would be for different events. I don't mind doing an umbrella. And then obviously, since we work so well together, I think that it wouldn't be an issue. But obviously, there are other responsibilities that we need to talk about too, right? Because Tom, if you're the secretary, we need some other positions and whatnot in here. So, do you want to just say I'll be the chair this year, and we can try to coordinate all of our drop boxes and communication this year? Is that fair?
Works for me.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'm happy to speak to this. I have been quiet because with tremendous respect, but I firmly reject being co-chair, offering myself to be co-chair, because I have so little experience on this committee.
Right.
No, you just came on.
To December, and that was it. And it is my first responsibility in town, and I am happy to learn, but I cannot be in a position where I lead this committee. I have way too much to listen to hear, to think, to read, and to respond about. So I'm not your person this year.
Yes, you just came on and you're, you missed the spring events this year, unfortunately, because of COVID. So you haven't gone through the big events yet even. So I understand.
I'll do whatever you guys want.
Well, I don't think we should be strong arming anybody.
I don't think we should strong arm anybody. So let's do this. I'll chair this year, and let's agree that we're all going to work together. It's not one. I'm like the head person for anything, but we can talk about transparency where everybody learns about the being on this committee. What I'm hoping to do this year also is try to grow our group, because technically we're supposed to have 7 people. It takes 4 people for a quorum, and that's if any one of us is sick, then we can't meet. And that's really unrealistic, especially for one, moving forward with this year through COVID, but also the big events that we have. So we need to kind of process how we're going to do that as well this year. So I think, Tom, are you comfortable in your position as secretary again?
I am. Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
fine.
So can we say then I'll do the chair this year, and we'll obviously all work together in this role. And Sue, thank you so much for coming in so late again. But it's a learning curve. And David, thank you for everything again. Just starting the conversation with the fire chief again this year for what we're planning on trying to do. So I guess, and we didn't actually call the meeting to.
I'll formally nominate you, Jaliska, just so we do an official elect you here. I'll nominate Jaliska as chair of the committee for this year.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Other than Jaliska, great.
Yeah, exactly, right. Thank you. And we actually officially didn't call the meeting to order, but we did, obviously.
I tossed that in there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I know that in the meeting notes and the agenda, we're talking about the committee structure. We have a chair, obviously, but increasing the membership, any ideas?
Jaliska, I was thinking, I mean, Rob has offered to help in any way we need. He's back around a lot more. I wonder if you could consider taking on like the remainder of just take the remainder of Trish's term.
Oh, that'd be super
something
helpful,
like
wouldn't
that. Because
Okay.
I would be up in a year. See if he'd do it for a year. Matt, this is Rob Norton, who was on the committee until about a year ago.
Okay.
So, he might be willing to come back and do something like that. I'm happy to ask him.
Okay, that'd be great, and that'd be helpful, I think, also because he's been around, and so
Yeah.
he understands sort of the structure that we have as well. Does anybody else have
Yeah,
any
I
other
should just
ideas?
mention that, this is the time of year when there are a lot of openings at various committees. And so I think what we're going to need to do on the select board is try to really publicize, hey, these are some key openings, and try to solicit citizens to, jump in. And well, I think that you have really specific skills and contacts in mind, of course. So anything you could give me to just help qualify that would be great.
Okay.
And our green card process hasn't been as effective, especially this year. It's, typically at town meeting, people solicit people to join. This year, it was a really fast town meeting process, and there really wasn't
Yeah.
much of that. So,
Uh,
okay, well,
I've approached 3 people. I've gotten 1 no. The other person sort of, I think, was interested, but I haven't heard from him, and so it's probably a no. And I recently spoke to somebody who's very interested. And we'll see
Oh,
what
good.
happens. And I have some other people that I want to try to reach. I just haven't gotten there.
Okay. Well, thank you, David. Thank you. So you know what we can do then, Matthew, for you is maybe we could sort of discuss, maybe email together about what sort of qualities we're looking for. That way we're not taking up time during a meeting to kind of get those
Exactly.
qualities in order. So if the 4 of us email each other, then we can CC you on what our findings will be for that. So that'd be greatly very helpful. Thank you.
okay, well, be careful on the open meeting process, right? It's okay if it's just you.
Well, I mean, you're right. I understand. But
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about, how do we do that process, what we're kind of
Yeah.
looking for, then we can go from there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you. And moving towards our reviewing our honored or citizen efforts. So we haven't posted anything. I actually haven't checked the mail recently about any applications, although we could review some of what we had last year.
Oh,
Tom,
no,
you put this
I was
together?
A naturalist could not even just the poor honored citizen for this year, but just even reviewing what went on since we last met
Right.
vis-a-vis honored citizen for 2020.
So, Sue, how did it go at town meeting?
It was fine. It was incredibly fast. I kind of made my way to the tent, so to speak, and was directed to the moderator, and then she brought me over to Mr. Price himself. And we just decided, she asked me whether I preferred to give him the gift in that moment before town meeting was called to order, or if I would do it when his name was called. And I thought it was that I did it prior to the meeting starting, as I felt it was more personal. So I walked up to him and handed him the gift and thanked him on behalf of the committee and the town, and he was delighted. So it went quite well. And then he stood when it was that meeting agenda item was called out. He was the first name called, and he stood with some other people, and we all applauded. So it was very smooth. It was personal, even though, of course, we were masked and social distance and everything was appropriate. But I was able to personally hand him the gift.
Tom, you had mentioned, and I like this idea of perhaps including him in next year's parade if we can do that.
Yeah, I think that, I think that'd be great. I mean, assuming we have an honored citizen 2021, why wouldn't we, have the 2 of them, honored at the events next year? We'll get to it for Veterans Day and such, but there's traditionally been a role, but I don't know how big or what have you we want to do on Veterans Day, but we can get to that. But certainly for the parade, hopefully if things are more normalized, to involve them, I think it'd be great.
I agree. Are we anticipating receiving nominations for this honor? I mean, you all would probably know better than I have. Throughout the stay-at-home advisory and the impact of the pandemic, have volunteer positions in town, if people who filled them been able to be active. So, I mean, if you think about it, it's tremendous. The majority of this year was really truncated.
Yeah, I think of it too as a little bit more of a, it's almost a lifetime achievement award, really. It's for, and I'm trying to recall the exact citation of what it's made for, but I believe it does indicate service over a period of time and in a variety of ways. So
even last year notwithstanding, it just does.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
I do recall that.
And so typically, or in January, there's some sort of solicitation made for nominations through the Concord Journal and the town's website, perhaps word of mouth. And there's a form that people fill out, and sometimes people have letters written. So it's at that time of the year where hopefully we'll get nominations.
Okay, Matthew, you're still a meet, yeah.
Yeah, just a point of information that town meeting is now scheduled for June 13th in this coming year. So it's a few months later than normal. So that might affect the honored citizen calendar as well, you know, because I assume that you normally give out the award there. I mean, you announce it beforehand, but you might want to offset the schedule, the normal schedule a little bit in reference to those new town dates.
It's actually, Matt, traditionally been an event that this committee holds in March, which is when and we could change the date on that too, but when this individual is specifically recognized, and there's a whole event around the awarding of the honored citizen. We did a town meeting this year just because we weren't able to do that. So
I see. Yeah. So anyway, things do seem like they're getting offset a little bit this year. So there's some latitude maybe compared to normal.
So we try to have the honor. We have a distinct ceremony for the honored citizen, and then the honored citizen participates in different town events, celebrations over the course of the year, including Patriots Day, Memorial Day, and Veterans Day. So that's why we need to have that selection done
before Patriots
April.
Day. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so Matthew, also, we tend to have a February 15th due date for most of these applications. And then we generally hold the ceremony at some point in March so that that person is aware and can plan for Patriots Day, which is in April, and then moving forward for the rest of the year.
Okay, well, let's hope this year, that one of the reasons we did, of course, delayed town meeting was to increase the opportunity to have an outdoor event, you know, imagining that we may still have to have outdoor events.
Right.
If our first potential for an event is Patriots Day, maybe we honor Mr. Kai's then, and we kind of catch up on 21, 22 together or something. We may have to, we'll have to see. But just for the committee too, Matt as well. But as I recall, without getting into details on it, but I think we had two, I believe, other very strong candidates this past year. To my knowledge, neither of whom has left town or anything. So I got to imagine, those could still be folks we could bump over and consider again in 2021. So, so hopefully we will get a lot of nominations too. But if we don't, I think we're starting with at least a couple of real good possibilities.
I agree. Okay. So does anybody else have anything else they want to say about the honored citizen? No? Okay. So I think our next agenda item is any pending invoices. I don't think we have any. Anybody have any pending? Okay. So then we can move to our current planning. So Veterans Day 2020. I was actually contacted by Alice on behalf of the DAR. They do not want to have anything to do with Veterans Day this year. They would be very happy to place a wreath, they said, at the Triangle at Rideout, so at the Percy Rideout Monument, and at Sleepy Hollow, wherever we sort of designate that they would like to, but they would like to do that on their own. And I told Alice that we had a meeting tonight and that I would contact her to kind of see, we don't have a plan yet moving forward, but what do you guys think about our planning for Veterans Day?
I guess I'd start, and Matt certainly weigh in here, because I guess I'm responding from Linda before. I don't know if Matt was before you were named or just before I realized it, and she and I were just chatting. But she had suggested that it sounds like the select board would prefer something scaled down from other years. Certainly not encouraging in advance, encouraging attendance. And maybe just do something, maybe include the battery. I guess in my own head, I'm sort of thinking, do we start with sort of what we did for Memorial Day? Can we get an honor guard, of the police, maybe get Rob again, from the military, lay a couple of wreaths. This time now we could add the battery because they could be in the back of the cemetery. We could, have one of us down there on radio, maybe just do something up at the front of the cemetery by the flagpole where we normally begin the day's events and lay a wreath there. Maybe brief remarks, maybe none. Maybe we just lay the wreath as cannon fire, and we move on. But I was sort of starting there is where I had in my head.
I think I agree with that. I think it would be good if we did a whole sort of quiet remembrance again, because I think I do have a lot of pictures also, or what I did do that day is I took pictures, and it seemed to go over very well. People liked it. They were happy that we recognized it, even though we couldn't have a huge gathering or whatnot. So do we want to just say that we do another sort of, at this point in time, we will just do a quiet day. We can try to maybe engage with the honor guard and the battery, and understanding there will be no DAR at the Veterans Day celebration, because I think if we can minimize it to what we had even this year, which was under or about that 20 people, or less than that, right? That's what we had there, Tom, was less than 20 people.
Oh, yeah, that was what, there were 3 or 4 of the police, Rob, so call that 5 people at the most, and then the committee, including John.
So yeah, I think we had 12, maybe it was 12, I think in total. So if we can keep it to about that, and if it's definitely the 4 of us, then I think that we can manage that. And as long as we're still recognizing, I think that that's really important. Is that okay for everybody?
Other thoughts?
Well, my memory of the event is there is no laying of a wreath. We raise the flag, we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and then everybody marched down, and we then started handing off there were some remarks made, but then it was just handing off the flags to the fire department. So I don't think we're laying any wreaths. And it seems, I don't know about raising the flag and reciting the pledge among 10 of us.
Well, I think David, my suggestion is, I mean, I think generally I would say, but certainly in the times of COVID, we've got some great ceremonies and want to maintain and respect them, but there's no saying we can't change them. And I think this year we definitely have to change it. So, but there has been a wreath laid, the DAR
yes.
But they're not going to do it. So.
Right, but I guess trying to find. I mean, I'm open to anything, but I think we need to do something, and we could raise the flag. We could, laying a wreath. I think in honor of veterans who obviously have passed. I had thought at one point, do we try to get some veterans there? But certainly for older veterans, that's getting a little dicey. I don't think we want to be pulling older folks out for this. So again, trying to keep it small. But I think we have to be creative. I don't think it's going to look a lot like previous years, unfortunately.
I wonder if it'd be possible for us to get, if we do have a bugler or somebody who could play the trumpet, instead of, so that as they're raising the flag, we can do that. If Rob says a few words and we keep it super simple, and we can maybe ask the DAR to lay their wreath before Veterans Day, because that's something that they were open to as well, so that they can have the wreath there as a remembrance, so we can bring attention to that as well, whatever we decide to do, because then then it would be a collective.
Yeah, I like having them do it, certainly. I think I was just suggesting add it in just so it's something for us to do, to be recognizing them. I'm kind of split on the bugler. I thought about that as well, but there's a lot of aspiration going on there. So we'd have to have them.
Well, I'm wondering about that because we've always had them pretty distant, far away from. We haven't necessarily had them on top of everybody else.
Right.
Or is it something that someone's on a mic and then they're going to be going into the microphone anyways?
Yeah, they could be further away. I guess the other thing, Jaliska, though, is keep in mind we've got the battery. So the battery would kind of take the place of the trumpet in some ways. That was a specific
could.
request, from Linda, make sure we had the battery. So
Okay. So what we used to do is how we engage them after we raise the flag, and then they would fire the cannon.
right.
Right. So rather than maybe having the bugler have someone recite,
Mm-hmm.
and then have the battery perform their cannon fire. Is that a good, do you think that would be a good order?
I mean, we could, I'm not trying to squash it either. I think we could yet. I said it was mixed on the trumpet. I mean, we could see if we could get somebody to do that, and they could be far away.
Yeah,
Right.
but the thing is if you're uncomfortable, then that also may mean that other people may be uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
And then we also need to be cognizant about the fact that maybe the person who is the trumpet player may not be comfortable.
I'd be comfortable, sure.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if there's at any point where someone feels uncomfortable in this position, then it may not be a good idea to necessarily go forward with it, because then that means that we're promoting something that that not everyone is comfortable with. Go ahead, David.
I think the bugler is always very much separated. And I think if somebody's uncomfortable, then they shouldn't come. But I don't think we should, that should be up to people. That's people's choice. But if we're going to do a ceremony, I mean, I think playing taps is very appropriate on this day and in this ceremony. And I can't remember one of our ceremonies. We used to have an echo, right? Didn't we have two?
This is the one.
This is
the
one of them.
All right, but
Yeah.
I think last year we only had one.
What's traditionally been done? It's To the Colors is played while the flag is raised. That's the traditional. The taps was down at the back. Before the flag raising. Flag retirement.
Right.
Thank you. That was it. Right.
And then the other. There's actually a spot. There's a spot up on Author's Ridge that's marked by a stone where the echo is played from.
And I mean, they're separated. I think it's part of the ceremony.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
I know I'm just the liaison here, but a couple things. I mean, I've seen processions already here recently in Concord and COVID. They're not specific town events where they had a trumpet player, and it's outdoors. And the beauty of a trumpet or a bugle is it's loud. It can be pretty far away. So I think it's fine. The other thing is, I'm wondering, do you have sort of Minuteman network coverage planned or anything? I mean, especially given that a lot of people won't be in person, to film the event or, broadcast it, even though, we may not get a lot of people, but it's just, I think it's just respect.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think we should invite them. We've invited them. We do invite them to other events. Not sure they've ever covered this, but maybe they would this year.
Yeah, I just think maybe I'll just raise that with them to see.
That'd be helpful.
I happen to be the liaison to the PEG Access Advisory Committee as well. So.
Oh wow, great.
And then one other tiny thing is I live in Percy Rideout's house. So.
Oh wow.
No kidding. That's great. We're about to man.
It's in West Concord, Winthrop Street. Yeah, near the park, not too far.
Nice.
All right, so we're at the flagpole. We raise the flag. We do the pledge. We have a bugler.
Yep, and then if we can try to get the Minutemen involved and do their, or the battery, sorry, get the battery involved to fire their cannons.
Yep.
It could just be a very short, succinct ceremony.
Yeah, I think we could process from the Pritchard Gate. So there's some procession to it. Just up to that flagpole.
Yep.
The remarks there are very appropriate. I mean, we can tweak them, but that we've always done.
Right.
They could be very appropriate. The playing of To the Colors, raising the flag, battery fires. Call it a day.
And I think so. And if we just make it that, and if we can actually see if we can try
So
to.
you don't want to do any flag retirement.
Oh no, I think that's a different. So this is the Veterans Day. The
Right.
flag retirement is. I don't think we're going. Well, go ahead.
Well, traditionally it's been on that day, but I mean, my thought on that, David, first of all, we haven't been promoting all year because we haven't been working on it to collect flags. I don't know if we have any flags at the moment.
I haven't checked.
Tish collects flags over the course of the whole year.
Great. Second of all, more to the point, I can't get behind the idea of and I know now the current thought is that it's spread through droplets, not through handling stuff. Nonetheless, we're a little too close to the concerns of the spring for my comfort to be taking ratty old flags from people, handing them off and handing them out and then burning them. It just doesn't seem right to me. And again, Matt can weigh in if he feels differently, but certainly the strong indication I got from Linda was they didn't want a big deal. They wanted it really scaled down and they want to approve it before this happens. So we're going to have to take whatever we come with tonight to the select board to say, here's what we're thinking. Are we okay?
Yeah.
I mean, we can propose anything. I'm just stating my own personal feeling is not being wild about flag burning this year.
Well, I think the flag burning has also we've invited the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and the DAR has been there. The military support group has been there because it's a very special event for these people. And I think once we start to say, oh, we're going to do the flag burning, we're going to do this, and then we have the fire department and the police, and now we have the battery, you're definitely getting more than 20 people, and you're going to get definitely more than 50 people just in the last couple of years, David. So I think we need to be super careful about our numbers, and then also trying to manage, one, still respecting the Veterans Day and what it means to the people that can do it. If there's any way that if Minuteman can't record it, maybe we can do something to honor them and then posting it on our Facebook page because, I haven't posted anything because we haven't had any events, right, this year. So maybe that's something that we could talk about also is that, in order to get this out, if we somehow can fix a live stream link of something, because that's easy to set up on a phone, that for someone who is not able to be there, that is something that we can do. But I would love to be able to see if we can get the town involved to cover the event like this. And I think with respecting what the town has to say as far as, what kind of a plan do we have? They want it to be short. And if we can make it, meaningful for these people, then if we keep it that simple, then we should just do this, have a list that we can say that we're going to do this, this, and this, and this. And I think that'd be very respectful for Veterans Day, for all the people involved, and for what it means for our community. Does that make sense? Okay.
The flag burning is part of that. I don't think we have to invite the Boy Scouts or whatever. Tish is going to burn the flags with the fire department, either behind the fire department just on some day, or they're going to do it that day. And I think we should do it that day so it can be filmed and make it recognize that it's happening. I think the fire department wants to do it and Tish wants to do it.
Okay, so I'm not aware of that, David, so I'm happy that you're bringing that up to me, so I appreciate that. I think that, I'm not sure. Do they plan on burning it that day? Or are they planning on burning it another day?
No, if we don't do it on Veterans Day, they're going to burn the flags behind the fire department sometime. Because Tish has to get rid of the flags. But if they do it behind the fire department, it's not going to be filmed. It's not going to be part of this day. There will be no ceremony to it.
Matt, I'm sorry, do you prefer Matt or Matthew? I apologize. It's Matthew on your Zoom.
I'm Matt. Yeah.
Okay,
normally,
Matt.
yeah.
What would be the select board's view as far as the burning and having that
don't
as part of
know.
the ceremony?
I mean, again, I'm just guessing. I think that again, the parameters that we talked about here are, a brief event, a limited audience, but a solemn and appropriate commemoration. So I think that there's things to be said for doing it, but then limiting the number of people involved. And I think that this filming opportunity may help a lot in that. But I can't speak for the board, not having spoken with them about this. We will be meeting next Monday. I'll be making a liaison report, and I could, raise this.
Okay. Because I think that, it'd be nice to sort of get a perspective from the select board and what our parameters can be, because telling us to have a small, limited number, a meaningful event could mean, 12 people or, involving the fire department at this point and a safety crew for that day as well with the battery, what would be our numbers, how many people is a small, intimate gathering.
Right, but what would be great is if you just sort of would, as a result of this conversation, if there'd be like just a set of bulleted items of, okay, here's what we'd propose. Do you object to any of this? That would be ideal. And we might just give a big thumbs up and off you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's still a lot more work to do, of course, but just to get a clear path forward.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I guess I'm curious too. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you have a view on to burn or not to burn that thing?
I think it sounds like if it is a regular part of the proceedings, and it is ceremonial, so I think it would be well suited to filming as well, potentially. Again, there may be people that feel left out if you're doing it this way, but then, as you had mentioned, if they're going to burn them anyway, that it's all relative. So I'd say I would lean towards including it, but that's just me.
All right. How about the pretty lady in the red?
Yeah, just kind of get Sue's. Sue.
I guess you mean me, since I'm the only woman here wearing red.
Yeah.
I think Matt, to your point, it is symbolic, symbolic and ceremonial, and so I think it's a good idea. I think it's appropriate on that day. I think there's something meaningful to that, and the filming makes it. I say move forward. I like the idea of burning on the day.
I will say I think we can figure a way to do it. Tom, I understand there's concerns, but Tish has already proposed a different setting where people can spread out more. The idea is that tables would be set up. People would place a flag on the table and back away, and then the fire department will pick up the flag from the table and take it to be burned.
Who are the people? I guess one thing that
maybe it's just us. Maybe it's just us.
Well, because I guess that was in what at least I got from the prior message from Linda was no public advanced knowledge of this. We're not promoting this. We just do it and then it's out there that day.
Yeah, so, I mean it is outside, and I would think that we could get people to social distance.
I mean, so primarily the thing is, David, is that, when it came to the flags, we've always had the scouts folding the flags that Wednesday before, always. The problem with that now is that we've always had it at the Hunt Gym. You have 50 scouts in one room folding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of flags, always. And that's what we would always use to pack into those clear bins for the fire department or for us to use on that day. So one, we have to figure out who's going to fold the flags, because we always fold the flags because you're being respectful, because there's a certain way that we're supposed to burn these flags. And then two is to now, obviously we've always transported those flags, but two, now if there isn't going to be any public knowledge necessarily about when we're going to start it, we know what's going to maybe perhaps happen on that day, is now we have to also be there to transport all of these flags and make sure that the fire department gets there to burn it on that day. So that alone is a lot of work, which I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but we also have to be mindful that we're 4 people. So last year we had 7 people to work on this thing.
No, we didn't.
Or maybe 2 years ago, right?
Last year we had 4.
So I guess the thing is right now is that one, we have to fold all these flags. And if Tish has them, it really would be irresponsible for us to have her fold everything, right? So we need to figure out a day that we need to fold all the flags. And then if it's just going to be Tish and the fire department, and now potentially a bugler, because the fire department has those 3 big barrels that were burning the flags with their crew. We just need to figure out the numbers. So I think if we do, let's figure out a bullet what we need to do beforehand. So we need to all collect the flags. And I'm not sure if, Tom, you'd like to write this down. But we need to collect all the flags, and that's from all the post office boxes and anywhere else that we have in town, right? Unless Tish she said that she's been collecting them, or is that just at the cemetery? Do you know,
Yeah,
David?
I think it's at the cemetery.
Okay. So if we collect all those flags, because I know that there are boxes at the post offices as well as the townhouse, so we need to make sure to get those. And then we also need to sort all of those flags, because we can only burn certain ones, right, in different piles. Because we need to make sure that we do that. And after we sort them, we fold them properly, right? So we need to collect all the flags, sort them, and then fold them for that day. And then on the day, we're going to have a small procession in. And in the people in the procession, you're going to potentially talk about, we have the honor guard. And then potentially the bugler. And any remarks, so that maybe Rob, Tom? Do you think? Okay.
Sorry, it's muted. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to him, ask him that at the same time. Sure.
Okay. And then after the remarks, we would have another procession down to.
Just because Rob are we gonna ask Rob to lay a wreath as well?
I think that would be the right thing to do. So at this time, we also need the wreaths, though, we would need to get at least 2 wreaths for that day, right?
I think just one.
Just one. No, sorry, I'm thinking separate something. So we need to get 1 wreath, and I can call Wayne on that. So we'll ask Rob to lay the wreath, if that's possible. Mm-hmm. And then we can have another procession down to potentially have that quiet burning ceremony. I'm not sure if maybe what we should do is, instead of David maybe having all of the flags be buried during that day, if we have 1 barrel and then we burn, I don't know how many, but if we can do that for like, say, because it used to go on for about 20 minutes or so, right, Tom? For the burning?
Oh, easily, yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
So if we burn flags for about, I'm not trying to put a time limit on it. What I'm saying is that if it's supposed to be a quiet ceremony, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, if we can figure that out roughly. Because if people can see that we are doing that, I just don't know that burning all the flags is, I'm just not sure how that's going to work, because then we would have, I don't know how long that's going to be, if it's just going to be the 5 of us, or the 4 of us, sorry, right? So if we have a quiet burning, say like 7 to 10 minutes, And then after the, or during the burning is when the battery do their cannon fire.
Fire. I think that's what
Yeah,
they're about it, yeah.
yeah. Do you guys think that that'd be an okay, if you're asking for bullet points so that we can make sure
Yep.
we get this to,
Yep.
okay.
Well, we've traditionally also had a bagpiper involved in all this. I'm assuming we're going to spike that, and we're also not going to do benedictions and.
I don't think so, because I think if we try to do,
I think that's the issue. The more ceremony we add, the more is demanded in a way.
right, but if we're also trying to limit the even 12 people to
Yep.
20 people,
Agreed.
at this point, if we start having the bagpiper and the benedictions and all of that whatnot, I think that's just a lot more people.
Yeah, I just looked. The traditionally the cannon is right before
The,
the flag
the
burning itself. We
right.
could put it to the battery. I mean, we could maybe they could fire as we lay the wreath, because then we'd process down and they could fire again down there or something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, actually, yeah. So we could have them do it just after the bugler,
Yeah, it'd be
before
nice.
the remarks, and then right before the burning.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I have the procession from Pritchard Gate. We have the honor guard, then the bugler, with the cannon fire, the remarks, Rob laying the wreath, cannon fire, and then a quiet burning for about 7 to 10 minutes. Because if we're trying to do something quiet and meaningful, I think that would be really helpful. And if we could try to get someone to record
Yeah.
all
I
that.
think that sounds really great. Yeah.
Yes, because I think we just need to be reasonable, but make it meaningful. I think that'd be really
Yeah.
helpful for that. And if we can't get the Minuteman to do that, I mean, I've always done the pictures before, so maybe I can figure out the live stream on my phone or something, and we could do it right to Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay? Does that make sense?
I'd like to propose that we lay it out, Jessica, as the first part, and then do they want the burning? I don't mind saying I, for one, still remain opposed to the burning. I don't want to do the
Okay.
second part of it. And, and I think you bring up a couple of really good points. That's a ton of flags to burn, to fold, excuse me. That's a lot
yeah,
of work. We get a lot of scouts that are there for a couple of hours.
right. And last year it was on 2 nights.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. And
Right.
again, I'll just be honest, I remain uncomfortable with it. So
Okay.
I can't commit to doing it. I'm going to be honest with you. So
No, and I appreciate your honesty. I think that, that's the whole point why we're talking about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
if someone's not comfortable with it, then we need to think about how to do it. Tom, would you be comfortable if some of the flags were already folded and then some other members on the committee were able to bring the flags up? And, we had
I
some,
have to think about it. Honestly, again, just something about it. Just, I mean, I'm not bound by, just because we've always done it on
Done
this
it?
day. We've spiked a lot of events this year.
right,
It just, something about this, burning this in COVID times doesn't feel right to me. As nice as it is, it's not directly tied to Veterans Day. Let's be honest. It's something that we have traditionally tied to it, but it's a way of retiring flags respectfully, excuse me. And we've picked Veterans Day to do it as a town in the past, starting in 1965, and that's great. But
Right.
it's not anything directly tied to Veterans Day. It could be on Memorial Day, it could be on Patriots Day. There's no reason why it would need to be this day, and it just doesn't feel right to me in this time.
okay. Do you think you'd feel more comfortable on a different day, or is it just, I mean, honestly, being COVID times and whatnot?
More the latter. I mean, I might be a minority report of one at this point. I'm comfortable with that, but I think, I'd like to at least say to the select board, we're at least somewhat split on whether we do that second part.
Oh no, I mean to be honest, I mean, I was, I'm in a high risk family, so for me, I mean, obviously being in this position, I'm going to try to do what's best for the committee. Not necessarily comfortable with myself doing that, but if I need to put on PPE gear to be able to fold flags to get this for this committee, I mean, I'm just saying, to be honest, I have to, I'm trying to do what's best for the committee. But I understand that is something that we have done previously in the past. I mean, maybe we can change it, and that's what I'm saying, a quiet burning um, I don't know if we could do this. What if we did the cannon fire, and then if the fire department wanted to do a burning on their own on that day, if someone was able to record it, or have a recording of the burning
Mhm.
at a different time, would you feel comfortable with that?
Or,
And not necessarily,
yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
sure. It just that takes my personal discomfort out of it. I mean, if they think it's appropriate and comfortable, I respect that. I mean, we could somehow tie it to the ceremony, just say they're going to be doing it down the back, that, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's something that we could talk about. So right now, we definitely have everything up to the quiet burning. That everybody comfortable with everything up into the quiet burning?
Yep.
We just, I mean, is that a yes? Everybody seems pretty comfortable with it. Okay.
Yeah, can you just clarify, I mean, are you comfort from a public health standpoint or comfort because we are going to be, I can't commit to hours and hours of folding flags. I just can't do that. I can commit some hours, but there's just no way, given what I'm doing right now, that I can carve out and I didn't do it last year, so I have no basis for comparison. And I couldn't even go to the ceremony last year because I'm required to be at work on that day. So I'm sorry, I just don't have much experience to bring. But given what you just described, yes, I do recall a couple of nights of the scouts getting together. If we, in this Zoom meeting, are filling that vacuum, it just, so what's the comfort level here? Is it with
Mine is,
building or the public health?
I think it's
began in the latter. Begins for me personally. It just doesn't seem right, optics or public health reason to me. But I think I hadn't even thought of, the practical matter. Obviously we cannot have 40 scouts in the basement of
course.
We can't do that.
Just no, right.
Holding flags. But traditionally we've had 40 scouts in the basement of Hunt Gym for probably 4 hours of folding. So that's, if there's only 4 of us, the math says that would be 40 hours of folding. So, it is a logistic problem at a certain point too.
right. So I think, what it comes down to, right? So one, the idea, right, that we did have over 40 scouts. Last year, we did it on 2 days. One, because the scouts were available and they thought it was on one night when we had tried to schedule it for a different night. And they were so used to this particular day that someone said, "Oh, Jaliska, we're here with 40 some odd scouts." I showed up and they folded over half of the flags. So, and then 2 days later, I think Tom and you and John maybe, or somebody, 2 other people went to the other one and they helped.
We had more folding.
And did like the second half of the folding. So I think what we need to be maybe mindful, one, that it is the 4 of us. I mean, potentially we have to be real about this. Hundreds of flags, not only from Sleepy Hollow, but also from St. Bernard, plus the boxes that we have, which are at both post office boxes and the town hall. Now, and that doesn't include the potential flags that the fire department has, because they also hold on to the flags that are overflow from town hall. So we need to think about what it's going to take for us to burn and potentially fold all that. So can I get a vote on this right now? Are people, one, willing to take the time to fold the flags and collect them? And then 2, so I guess to 1, collect them, and then 2, to fold and take the time to do that. Because now it would be up to, I think, us.
No,
David?
No, I don't think this precludes the scouts from folding flags. I think instead of doing it as an entire group, we have to have more coordination and a tribe or whatever, a group of 10 scouts fold on Monday and another group folds on Tuesday, or however they want to schedule it.
So I can tell you,
We don't even know if scouts are even, even viable this year, or how this.
That's true, but I think we should find out and see if they would do it. I mean, I've seen some kids out in their uniforms on hikes, so I think scouting is going forward.
So I do know, because I have talked to a few leaders. So right now they are doing everything outside. They do not know what's going to happen when the weather starts to get cold. And we're talking about November. It has snowed in November here in Massachusetts. It was cold. I mean, it snowed.
Maybe we need to get the flags to them this week and get them started folding what has been collected. I mean, if we're going to try to do this, I just, it doesn't mean we have to do it, but maybe we need to get all these questions answered this week. Will they do it? Could they do it? Start folding right away? You know, if the answers are no, then it's easy. We don't have the ceremony.
Okay, so
I don't think we should decide tonight.
I agree. So David, why don't I do this? I have all the scouts' email addresses. I will, reach out to them and see, if they're actually having meetings. And if they are having meetings, if they'd be interested in folding the flags. And go from there, because we can't give them any details about the ceremony because we can't invite them to it. Because you're talking about various groups. So why don't I send an email to all of them, and I will let you guys know what happens by when I receive that email.
And meanwhile, I'll type up the ceremony with that half, and including it, and saying to the select board, look, the second part's an option. We're determining if it's logistically viable.
Right.
At the same time, why don't you all weigh in, and then at our next meeting in a week or 2 weeks from now, we could vote on, okay, here's what we're actually doing, because now we'll have the information. Here's what we can't get scouts, or we can get scouts, or whatever we know.
Sounds good. So is everybody comfortable with that? Okay.
I think David's frozen.
No,
David?
I'm still here.
Nope,
Oh, okay. Great. Sorry, it looked like you were frozen there for a moment. Sorry. So everybody's comfortable with that.
Matt just can't believe this meeting is taking this long. That's all.
Hey, we're a nitty gritty logistics kind of committee here.
But
Yes, we
a
are.
lot of meetings. I could take you to a 4-hour planning board meeting sometime.
Shall we move to, I guess the next item that you have on here, Tom, is the tree lighting.
Yep. Yeah. I was just thinking we should talk about everything in light of where we are. So that's why we'll put that in.
I honestly have no idea what that's going to look like this year.
David had something like that, I think, in an email he mentioned.
Right? David, did you get something?
I had a conversation with Ryan Kane. He's thinking they're going to do something virtual. They'll get Santa and put him on a fire truck and drive him down and raise the flag, light the tree, and do it, under darkness or early in the morning or whatever, and they'll film it. And my take from that is that there's no role that we will have. And again, that was all preliminary. He was, it's months away. That was what he was thinking.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I guess we can only wait.
If it's virtual, there's no parade. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely not going to be a parade with, kids lining the streets and things being thrown to them. So, and that we were just there to line people up and kind of walk with them, and that's not going to happen. So I don't, Sue, you're off the hook for another event.
It'd be interesting from a virtual perspective to have a montage of people lighting trees in their homes, switching on the lights of their tree, and you really just 3 seconds per home, and you just go in 2 minutes, you've gone through, 150 homes or something. It could be fun.
I love
That's
that.
a great idea.
People email in their clip.
Yeah. 3-second clip.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
They're smiling, they switch the light on, there's the tree.
Yeah, I don't think people will be organized by the time that this tree lighting event typically happens, though. This typically happens
Oh,
the
it's
first
early.
Sunday
It's
in
early.
December.
Yeah, it's true.
And a
The
lot of
first
people,
weekend.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
we all know families that light them up over Thanksgiving weekend. That's they.
That's their thing.
Yeah.
That's when
Okay,
they do
well,
it.
anyway, just an idea.
That's a great idea. And as far as the spring 2021 spring events, Tom.
Yeah, my thought on that, Jaliska, and maybe we need to, come to our next meeting with, having looked at the calendar is, we should probably be at least setting dates, when they would traditionally be.
Okay.
And then, we can't tell now, but just sort of see how the calendar goes. Because remember to, if we're able to have a Patriot Day parade, a normal one, we got to get those invitations out by January 10th, 15th.
Yeah, I think John and I have always parsed through the list just after before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So trying to mail everything by Thanksgiving so that it is in everybody's homes by January.
Yeah.
Because then we'd get all the lists before February.
I think
Before, like,
we know that day. I mean, it's not that hard. We can just easily put together the proposed dates because it's, we know what that day is. And
yeah, I think I still have one of the postcards, so maybe I can get that ready for the next meeting.
Great. Yeah, I think we should just probably be setting the dates and then figure it out as we go.
That sounds great.
And that's also then, so it won't be for this meeting, but Matt, that's something then, once we have that calendar, we run it by the select board for your all approval, that those are the official dates.
Yeah, and it would be very tentative, of course, but yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, they planned dates, yes.
Right.
Great.
Just by the way, just to close out that Veterans Day thing, I've been in contact with Carlin Reed of the PEG Access Advisory Board. She's going to bring it up with the station manager. And so we'll see if we can get a response from them quickly.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Okay. And I know it says here, public comment, if anybody wanted to, Matt or Jeremy, if you wanted to share any thoughts.
Well, Jaliska, you and I had talked about having a meeting with the select board back in May to talk about parades and expenses. And so Matt, should we get on their calendar, their agenda sometime to still have that conversation?
Now, you're not talking past expenses, you're talking future.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, but I mean, right now, things are so much in the air. I think until we have more clarity about whether we're going to have any parades, it's pretty hard to have that conversation. So I'd say,
well, except that it's a budget issue. So as you put together a budget
for FY21,
yeah,
right.
Because what we've learned is that parades are businesses, and they're in my mind, they're rather expensive, and we as a town are way behind
many other towns. Yeah,
in terms of the money they spend. And our parade keeps getting smaller because we're not paying.
Okay. So, all right, it's true that if you need to really have input into the budget process for FY21, yeah, it's earlier is better, to get that as a priority. But it is true as well that it's all going to be pretty theoretical, but next year, we're hoping next fiscal, we should be able to have something going.
But do you know
we're having an unspent budget line for this year, right? You're talking FY22 budget. Sorry. It's not
right. Correct. Right.
Yeah.
Well, 22, 23, and 25 is a big year.
Right. Yeah.
25 is huge. So.
And if rather than making a big hit in 25, perhaps it should be spread out over
the next few years.
Yeah. And okay.
Because that's a big anniversary year.
Absolutely.
Matt, just so you know, just for a frame of reference, Lexington has a budget of $40,000 just for Patriots Day.
Mhm.
And now July 4th is a different scenario. There's more competition, but there are other places that budget $65,000 just for bands on that parade. And we, with wreaths and luncheons and whatever, our budget has been under $20,000. And so we end up having less than $10,000 to spend on bands.
Right. For the whole year. Yeah, for the whole year.
So
So
we are way behind.
Okay.
yeah.
So that's
Just-
why I bring it up. And so, Matt, do we need to do we have to attend a meeting?
Well,
Or
I think
Sue.
we need
To
to get
educate
it
the
on the
board.
agenda, right, to talk. I mean, there are two groups, of course, that would be of concern here. One is, I think the select board setting the policy or the objective of, hey, upping the expense. But then also the finance committee has to budget it. It has to go into budget guidelines from, and the town manager is going to propose a budget guideline. So I think that it is appropriate to try to get on a future select board agenda. And yeah, it's going to be sooner rather than later that budget process is going to get started.
Great.
And so, Jalissa,
You and I.
Do you want to reach out to somebody to get on the agenda?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll talk to Linda and then talk to who I need to reach out. Yeah, as far as the select board, the finance committee, and I know Carrie from the town manager's office. So we can make one email and we can be on that all of us together. So
Okay.
Thank you. Sounds good. Any other comments?
Should we schedule our next meeting?
Yes, please. So it sounds like we have a couple of emails and whatnots to follow through with. I should be able to hear back regarding the scouts, hopefully this week. So let's see. Do we want to schedule something in the next week, Tom? Sue and David?
Select board is meeting on Monday the 12th. Is that right, Matt?
That's right.
Okay, so we want to be after that.
Well, actually, I should
Columbus Day.
take that back. Yeah, there may not be a meeting that day.
I was going to say, so do we want to do it maybe after the select board meeting?
Yeah, actually,
Meets?
I recently got a calendar of our meetings. So I
Would that
don't have
mean
it in
it
front of
would
me.
meet on the 19th, or does it meet then on Tuesday the 13th or something instead? Or
I suspect we might meet on the 13th, but I have to check.
should
Sorry,
we
I'm a
schedule
little
the
new to
meeting
this.
the following Monday?
Yeah, it is on the 13th. We have a meeting on the 13th.
Yeah, do you guys want to schedule something on October 19th with that Monday? Are you guys available, Sue? David?
We can return to Mondays, which is when we used to meet, which
Yep.
if that works for everybody.
And is the 7:30 time? Or would 8:30 work better for people?
Well, this will all be pending also availability of the Zoom, keep in mind. So Jeremy, I don't know if
Ah,
you can let us, if you happen to know that now, if you're hearing us.
Like Jeremy may have just hit record and
Okay, we'll follow up with him.
Monday's not so. If we got to do Zoom and we have to do it at 7:30, I can't do that.
would 8:30 work better for you, David?
8:30 on Tuesdays, Sundays.
It sounded like I'm just reading between the lines, but I'm not sure that the tech support is available on Sundays to do Zoom.
it's not. I don't think.
Okay.
Also, we just don't typically have
Yeah.
committee meetings. Weekend.
So do we want to shoot for 2 weeks from tonight, the 20th?
Yeah, should we just shoot for the 20th then? And do you want to keep the 8:30 time? Does that work for you, Sue?
Sure.
Okay. David, does that work for you?
Yeah, sorry to be difficult.
No. That's we need all four of us on this committee to make it work.
In terms of having to you know, do Zoom, you know, if we're, so, yeah.
I mean, I may have a problem because that night is the Community Preservation Committee's applicant interviews. So they start at 7. I don't know when they'll end. So,
Okay.
but I'm just the liaison, so I can always catch up later.
Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't always had
A representative.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, if we can, yeah, I think it's great you can join us when you can, Matt. It's terrific. We all really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But certainly we can move the ball forward. That would give us about 3 weeks ahead of Veterans Day, so we could finalize plans.
Sure. And then I can report back offline from any other
Perfect.
Okay.
stuff.
And I'll
So
check on availability of Zoom tomorrow and let everybody know for that time.
Okay, great. So we're looking at tentatively, looking for the 20th of October. And that's going to be roughly at 8, or it will be at 8:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
If we can, Tom.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it on a Tuesday evening. And thank you for your patience. It's been a little bit longer than the hour. So, but I hope that everybody has a really great evening.
Great. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks for joining us too, Matt.
Thank you. Oh, God. Thank you. Good night.
All right.